Hello and welcome to the BCU Alumni Podcast. I'm Bethan from BCU's alumni team, and in each episode we welcome a different member of our alumni community back onto campus to chat all about what they've been up to since graduating from BCU. Today we're joined by Jonathan Williams, who graduated with a BA Hons in Media and Communication in 2019. Since then, Jonathan has excelled in his career as a freelance photographer, videographer and content creator. Whether it's taking photographs of A-list celebrities, working with massive brands like Instagram, Netflix and Spotify, or creating content for his impressive 24,000 followers on TikTok, Jonathan has worked hard to make a name for himself in his chosen industry. And if that wasn't enough, Jonathan is also the director of Well Run Brum, which is a men's mental health and wellness movement which offers free social 5k runs every fortnight. In this episode, we'll be exploring Jonathan's incredible career so far, the ups and downs of working freelance, the inspiration behind Well Run Brum, and tackling imposter syndrome. Jonathan, welcome to the BCU Alumni Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's obviously so lovely to have you on campus, but thankfully you're never too far away.
Yeah.
Your face is everywhere in Parkside. So you never actually planned on studying at BCU. It was pretty much like a last minute decision for you. So what changed your mind?
So the only reason I wanted to not study at BCU was because I wanted to go away to have my independence, because all my friends were doing it. So I grew up in Birmingham my whole life, been in the West Midlands forever. And all my friends were going to like Manchester and London and Liverpool. And I kind of wanted to have that experience, like the stereotypical university experience of leaving home and just being your own person and just having that independence. So I was planning on going to, I think it was like Manchester, I think it was University of Manchester to take television. And then on the very, one of the few, last days of summer, BCU got in touch and was like, hey, we've got you down, or you've got us down as one of your options. You've missed 2 of the open days because I have to go to other universities, and they were like, do you want to come down for this special open day? So me being me, I was like, I'm dead set on going to Manchester. Like, I've pretty much got everything booked. It's all good. And then my mum was like, well, the university is like 10 minutes away from the house, so you may as well just go down and check it out. And then worst case scenario, if you don't like it, you've already made your decision.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I remember I walked into the building and I was like, it was one of those feelings where it's like, how has this place been here this whole time? And I had no idea. Like, I literally walked in and I was like, it's beautiful. Everyone was so nice. Everyone was so friendly. And I remember, I forgot who, I'm blanking on who actually took the tour with me and who showed me around. But I remember she did it in a way that was so welcoming and so informative, and almost made me feel like I was already a student on the campus. It was almost like a scene out of a movie. Like, everything was just picture perfect. We walked into the radio studios and there was kids doing a little radio edit, and we go up to highs and lows, and then the guys didn't even know we was doing a tour, and they're showing me all the equipment. If you go to this uni, you can rent out this cinema line camera and this professional recording equipment from the BBC and Channel 4 use. And I remember just walking around the campus just feeling I'm meant to be here. I don't really believe in fate too much, but I think after that tour, I remember I called my mum and I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to change everything. I was like, everything's changing now. I'm going to this university and we're gonna make it happen. And by the grace of God, I remember I got my results from sixth form and I checked UCAS and I'd been accepted into BCU, and I was like, yes. I was so happy. So yeah.
So let's rewind to a much younger Jonathan for a moment then. Did you always know you'd end up spending your days behind a camera and creating content, or is that a passion that you discovered whilst you were at university?
I kind of knew I wanted to do something creative as a kid. I didn't know what it would be because I come from a really creative family. So everyone from uncles and aunties and brothers and sisters, they all do something within the creative industry. My brother's a really talented illustrator. My dad was a musician. My mum is a seamstress.
Wow.
So everyone has that kind of creative flair in them, and I think everyone assumed I would have it growing up. So I knew if I was going to do a job, it had to be within the arts and in arts and media and stuff like that. But I think my biggest fear was, which is a acceptable fear, is figuring out how you're going to find your feet and make it into a career. Because I remember at one time thinking like, oh, I was going to be an illustrator, but then everyone was like, that's really hard to make money in, like it's super competitive. Not scaring me, but kind of letting me know the reality of the situation. So I was like, okay, maybe I can do something a bit more like different. So then I got into creative writing and didn't really like that. And then I remember I found photography at GCSE level in secondary school. I remember I did it for 2 years in GCSE level, got a grade A. I was so happy. But then I went to sixth form and there was no like creative courses. So I kind of forgot everything that I learned within those 2 years. Had to come back to university, took a media photography course, ended up getting a first in that. And then like it kind of all came naturally. So I was in a class with people who didn't know how to use cameras and didn't know anything about photography at all. And I think after like the second lesson, everything kind of like clicked and everything kind of came rushing back. And I was like, oh, I did this 2 or 3 years ago. So it all made sense essentially. But I think when I left university and through the help of the university, I found my first like retainer client as a freelance photographer. That was the thing that made me know like, okay, I can actually do this as a career if I can put my mind to it and figure out a way to make it work.
I mean, you really are like here, there and everywhere. But how soon after graduating then did you like kickstart your career, and did you also feel prepared to start working freelance?
So I think it was about like 2 or 3 weeks after leaving university. That was when I found my first retainer client. So actually the story behind that was I did a shoot for BCSU. I forgot the guy who was working there at the time, but I remember he got in touch. I think he might have put something on like a student board that he was looking for a photographer. And then I remember I did the shoot. He was really impressed. I was impressed too, because I was like, wow, these photos look great. And they gave me so much help and motivation and was just like, yeah, these are great. Like you could do this as a career. And I remember I submitted the photos and like a week and a half later, I get an email from him and it's like, hey, my friend Juliet, who works at this company called Flight Club Darts, they're opening up a new venue in Birmingham. They're looking for a photographer. Do you want to do it? And I was like, I think I was about 2 weeks after leaving uni. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll give it a try. But I didn't really know what I was stepping into. I thought it'd be like a one-time thing because I didn't really know at the time. You don't know anything. So I remember I did the shoot and it turns out it was a trial shoot. So she gave me all this feedback and I was like, why is she giving me like feedback? Like I thought it was just a one-time thing. And she was like, so we want to have you be the photographer for our Birmingham venue to like take all the photos essentially. And I was like, oh wow, there you go, that's one client. So if I can do that once, maybe I can do it again. And then that was the thing that kind of got the ball rolling and kind of got my mind thinking about like, okay, self-employment in a way. And I took two kind of modules that related to self-employment. The first was enterprise, which was great because essentially what I was doing was learning how to build a creative agency. It's like a fictional creative agency at the time. And again, didn't really know what I was doing. I just thought, okay, this module sounds pretty fun. And I remember I got my grades back and I got a first again. And the feedback was really detailed. Like I'd done stuff that I wasn't even aware that, creative agencies were doing in the real world, like actually using my real world connections that I'd made at university. So when I was in university, I already knew a few people in the media industry. So I was kind of getting them to kind of vouch for this fictional creative agency in a way. And they're like, yeah, it's great. He's going to do all this amazing stuff. So I remember I did an enterprise course and I think I'd done like a PR course or something in relation to that. And by the time I'd left, because I already had the connections and some of the expertise from like the classes that I was doing and the confidence too and the support from like family and friends, I felt like, okay, I can give this a try for like a year and we'll just see how it goes like after a year essentially. And then that's kind of what it's been like for the past 5 years. It's just like taking it like year by year, day by day, and just always trying to progress and do more.
Yeah. So what are the best and the worst things about working for yourself, especially in like the creative industries?
Man, so the best thing, okay, we'll start with the best thing, which is when you do a good job, you know that you've genuinely done something special. And I can't explain it, but like when you work with a client, for example, and then they give you a brief and then you hit the brief on the head and you do everything either perfectly or close to perfect, and then you get an email back and they're like, thank you so much, like you've really helped us out massively, you've done a fantastic job. and you kind of know you've done that all by yourself. There's no other feeling better than that, because I'm all for like collaboration and working in teams, and you know, even just having like 9 to 5s where you're working with a bunch of people. But I think when you know that you've done something special by yourself and it's like all you, it kind of gives you this weird like feeling, like adrenaline rush, where it's just like, that was the most amazing thing ever. Like when you complete like as a self-employed creative, like when you complete a project, it kind of just feels like you're leveling up every time, and then you do one thing and you do another thing, you do another thing, and it's just, yeah, it's amazing, especially when you're working on things that you're passionate about too. And you know that, okay, if I do this project well, there's going to be a part 2, because they're gonna want to get me involved again. Because like if you do something good one time and you've done it at a great level and they're really happy, you kind of know that you've bagged the client then, almost. So it's like kind of just building up this like these relationships between like individuals and businesses. The thing that I don't like about being in the creative industry is, as I get older, it's like the instability at times. So there's months when I'm really, really busy and like I'm run off my feet, and I'll be busy for like 3 or 4 months, and then there might be a month where like I'm really not doing anything. And then even though like I made all my money and, you know, I've kind of done what I need to do, like I've done what I've needed to do a few months prior, it's a bit weird when you go from like being run off your feet to doing nothing. So I think in the early stages, that's when like the imposter syndrome kind of kicks in, and you think, okay, was that the end? Like I think all freelancers feel like that. Like one day you just wake up and then nothing happens, and you're like, okay, the roller coaster's done now. So like like you kind of think, okay, like do I have to go out and get like a 9 to 5? Like is this the end? And you start sending out emails, and then you hear responses and things are great and people are looping you in about future projects, but you just don't know what's happening. Almost it's like you're in the middle of the ocean and you're like, okay, where do I go? But then a week later you get an email about a project and they're like, oh yeah, we saw you through LinkedIn, or we saw you on the side of a bus, thank you to BCU, or we saw you like, I don't know, on a alumni podcast, you want to do this, and you like, we've got this project. And then that's when you kind of get back in the game and you're like, yes, like I can keep on doing this. But you know, if it were, I always say this to people, like if it was to end tomorrow, touch wood, it never does. I would be so happy with everything I've done, because I've already like exceeded my expectations in such a short amount of time. And I'm like, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, it kind of feels like it feels like I'm getting away with murder sometimes. Like sometimes it's just like, this shouldn't work. This shouldn't be going as good as it is. But I know it's just all hard work. So anytime I feel like that, I tend to kind of remind myself it's just come from a lot of sacrifices, and you don't get anything in life without sacrifices. So yeah, those are the two, like the good and the bad.
So you've worked at the likes of the Mobile Awards, Wireless Festival, Park Life Festival, Reading and Leeds, All Points East, so many more. So what are your like absolute highlights of your career so far? Man,
okay, so photographing the cast of Wicked for Instagram, that was like, oh my god, I was like, what's happening right now? Like I was so, like that was one of those moments, like a pinch me moment, where I had to like, I remember I took the photo and I had to walk out the room, because I'd realized that this is like the biggest movie of the year, and I'm working with like the biggest like brands in, not only in tech, but like probably the biggest social media platform ever, and it's just me. Like, and when I thought about that, I was like, it's literally just me in a room, and it's all my own equipment that I've had to save and work hard for, that I built up over the years. It's me being in complete control of everything, like talking to the cast members, controlling the lighting. I didn't even have an assistant. I wanted to bring an assistant on the day, and they were like, no. Like, it's just like, there's too many people here. There's too many celebrities. Like, if anything, I remember like on that day, because I knew how big the movie was, but it wasn't until I spoke to my friend Richard, who's the biggest fan of theatre and like musicals and that kind of stuff, that I remember I said, we was on the phone and I was like, I think I'm going to photograph the cast of Wicked. And he called me. No, we was on FaceTime, and then he called me back and he was like, this is insane. Like this is, I don't think you realise how big this opportunity is. And I was like, yeah, it's cool, but I'm doing this other thing next week. And it's like, no, scrap that. Let's not focus on that. You are doing this is like a huge opportunity. And I remember I did it. And I was so happy, because all of the cast members were really nice. Like Cynthia was amazing. Ariana was like, she's such a sweetheart. Like, she's just so cool, and like, yeah, everyone was really cool, and I got to like speak to them for a little bit, and like just be in that room and like kind of working with the cast, and also working with Instagram, but also talking to people from like Universal Pictures who were there too. It was like definitely a pinch me moment, so I'd say that.
What other famous people have you photographed?
So this is a long list. This might be super long. So there's been Stormzy, Maya Jama, Post Malone, Drake, Idris Elba, Alicia Dixon, Wretch 32. It's a long list. Yeah, it's a super long list. And I remember, it's funny, like in the beginning I would kind of get starstruck in a way and be like, oh my god, these people are like my idols and stuff like that. But I think like as the years go on, you start to realize that they're just normal people, and like they're just kind of like anybody else, and they get a bit like, when I was talking to Cynthia, and for some reason she was a bit anxious, like when I was talking to her, and I was like, I didn't say this to her, but I was like, you're like a movie star, like you're like the biggest thing ever. Like, it's so weird that, not weird, but I found it like interesting that, oh, like they kind of go through the exact same things that everybody else goes through. And I was like, you good? And she's like, bro, I'm tired. Because she was doing press all week, and they were just like, just like really normal, down to earth people. But the list is super, super long, and I think, it's a blessing to be able to, work with those kinds of people. But it's also a blessing to just work with, people who work in like communities and within Birmingham. Like, I've done projects for the council, the university, like small charities, and they're just as amazing as, celebrities. Have got just as cool backstories and lives. And I remember like there's people that I've met just in Birmingham, London, all over the world, and I'm like, man, you're the coolest person I think I've met. And they might work in finance, or they might just work as a teacher, but I'm like, you are just amazing. And I think those are like, when I get to meet those kinds of people who are just like one in a million, I'm like, this is what I do, this is why I love my job, and this is why I do what I do.
So I mean, obviously it sounds super exciting what you do, but it's not always exciting. You've mentioned in the past that you've experienced imposter syndrome quite a few times, so can you tell us a bit about that and kind of where and when it can pop up?
So it usually pops up when I am in situations where I feel like everybody around me kind of deserves to be in that room, and then for some strange reason I feel like I don't deserve to be there. So I'll give you an example. So because I live in Birmingham, there's a creative scene here, but it doesn't get as much attention, or we don't really have the ecosystem like other major cities around the world if you compare it to like a London or a Paris or New York. And I think there's so much like social economic factors that contribute towards why those major cities have more of a creative scene, and why there's more money flows and there's more opportunities. I think there's been a lot of money like funneled into London over the years, and I think now Birmingham's getting to a place where like we're getting there. It's kind of developing slowly, but it's going to take a while for us to have our own creative scene. That's like, and to have all of these brands that can come down and people can make a full-time career from being a creative. So I tend to find myself in London a lot, and when I'm in London and I'm working with these brands and stuff like that, Londoners have this habit of making you realize that you're not from there sometimes within the creative scene. So I'll talk and I don't even realize I have a Birmingham accent, and they're like, oh, where are you from? And I'm like, yeah, I'm from Birmingham. And they're like, oh wow, like that's so far, you came all this way. It's like,
not.
It's like, it's not Hogwarts, it's not like Lord of the Rings or something. Like, I haven't like came on a dragon. Like I caught the train and it was an hour and 20 minutes, or I drove and it was 2 hours, and I'll stay for a couple of days with friends and family and stuff like that. But I think when they make you aware of that, and they like, I tell them like, I do this like full time as a job, and I travel all over the country. I don't think it's intentional, but I think sometimes people can make you aware that what I'm doing is a bit unconventional in a sense, like always just traveling up and down the country, always like not being where it's like action packed and it's popping all the time. So I have to kind of balance, doing creative stuff that I really like, but then sometimes doing some stuff that I may not be as passionate about, within different cities. And I think that's where the imposter syndrome kicks in, because I start to feel like, well, am I really a creative if I'm not living in London and I'm not in that scene? And like, maybe if I lived there, I'd get more opportunities, and maybe if I moved there straight after uni, my career would would be even better and stuff like that. And I think that's where it kicks in situations like that. Or I'll get a client and they'll send me a quote for a job, and I'm like, that's a lot of money. And like, just because like you know, if you're not used to seeing that at an early age, you kind of think, wow, like, are you really gonna pay me to do that? And like, am I gonna be able to do it? Am I gonna be able to flourish and kind of, you know, hit the nail on the head? But I think when I feel like that, I tend to just look at what I've done in the past, and I go on my LinkedIn or my Instagram or talk to my family and friends, and they kind of remind me like, no, you're doing great. Just keep on doing what you're doing. Don't overthink it. So I think it's about having that, like, that circle around you. You can kind of get you, like, whenever you feel you have imposter syndrome, they can help you get out of that rut and kind of bring you back down to earth and say, like, you're great. Keep on doing what you're doing. Don't overthink it, because there's people who would probably kill to do what I'm doing. And a lot of people message me, like younger photographers, and they're like asking, oh, can I shadow you on this shoot? Can I just come along and help out? And I think stuff like that makes me realize that like that none of that would happen if people didn't think what I was doing was valuable, or I was kind of making an impact. So
So tell me about Well Run Brum then, and how it's, I guess, like really supporting men across our city. Yeah.
So Well Run Brum is a 5K movement. It's a 5K run, and essentially it's like a movement about getting men to be more open about their mental health, essentially. So me and the founder, who's like one of my good friends, Richard Loftus, we both experienced our own mental health struggles at the end of 2023. And it's funny because we're from like two completely different worlds. Like we live like an hour and a half away from each other, but we've had completely different backgrounds, like social, economic, all of these kind of factors, but we get along really well. And it's like we're almost like the polar opposite of each other.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that we found interesting was we were both going through the exact same mental health struggles at the same time. And when we kind of connected and spoke about how we were feeling and kind of just met up for a run one time, we just let it all out. And I was just like, I've been going through this. I've had problems at work. I've had family issues, relationships, all of this stuff. And he shared how he felt at the time. We felt like it was a release almost. And I say this to everyone when I explain what that first run was like. So we did Perry Bar Park Run, which happens on a Saturday. So it must have been December, I think like 2 or 3 weeks before Christmas. I remember we went out on a cold December, and we did a park run, and I felt like so terrible on that day. I felt like the lowest I'd ever felt. And I remember when we did it and we spoke, it was almost like I was like clean again. And this is what I say to people all the time. It felt like I was cleansed, like whatever I was going through didn't really matter in that half an hour of running. And I remember when we did it, I seen everyone and they were like happy, and like people's, you know, endorphins and adrenaline was going through the roof. And I was like, oh, this could be the thing that helps me and other people kind of get out of whatever terrible situation we're in. Because I remember when we did that park run, I said, okay, I'm going to go away for like a week. And I went away to Morocco, and I came back on Christmas Eve. And then I remember, like, when I came back, I almost remembered how great life was. And then I thought to myself, okay, I've got a plan. So then I can figure out like how I'm going to get myself out of the situation I was in. And then when I started to run more, my life kind of improved massively. And then I realized that this was almost like my therapy, and that I needed to offer this service to other people and have motivational speakers and, you know, conversational pacemakers come and talk to these group of men who all come from different backgrounds, and make them realize that, you know, talking about your mental health is fine. There's no stigma behind it, and you should feel comfortable kind of telling your story and being open. Because I think as men, we feel like we can't do that. We feel like we have to kind of bottle everything in until it gets to the point where, unfortunately, you know, a lot of men make that decision to, you know, do what they do, and it's tough, and, you know, that leaves families in distress and stuff like that. So we want to kind of get to them from as early as possible. And just, even if it's just they come and they have a conversation with us, and like we give them their number and be like, hey, if you ever want to meet up for a coffee or just meet up outside of this, feel free. But this is like your support network, so you can come to this group every Tuesday on a fortnight and have that release. And I think like genuinely that might have saved mine and Richard's lives. So like we look at that and we're appreciative of like all the work we've done and stuff like that.
So how can people find out more about Well Run Brum then? And also, how do they get involved? Like,
So-
do you just show up?
Yeah, you can literally just show up like not any time you want, because we won't be where you think we are. But if you go on our Instagram and type in Well Run Brum,
Yeah.
you can be like, essentially you're up to date with absolutely everything we're doing. So you can see the next run that we've got, you can see other events that we're putting on around the city, or if you go on to our website www.wellrunbrum.co.uk, you can see even more stuff. So you can see like past conversational pacemakers we've had.
Right.
You can see up and coming projects that we have in the works. You can go and get some merch, because we've got t-shirts and hoodies and
Nice.
caps and all of that stuff. You can join a WhatsApp group and kind of be up to date with everything we're doing and talk to some of the guys that we have in the group. So we've tried to make it as like universal and as easy to access as possible. And if you go on Instagram, you will see like at the top it's got the bio and it says when our next run is. So
Right.
it will have like the time and then the location and the motivational and the conversational pacemaker.
Yeah.
The conversational pacemaker is the person that we have who delivers
Yeah.
a little 5 to 10 minute speech beforehand, and they come
Yeah.
in and kind of set the tone for the evening, and then they just meet us there, and then we just go for a run, and then after that we sometimes go out for a drink or we get something to eat, and that's how it works.
So this is something we love to do in every episode, which is a Birmingham quickfire round.
Cool.
So what is your favourite spot on the BCU campus?
The little field outside Parkside building, because I remember
Eastside Park.
Eastside Park, that's
That's what it
it.
is.
I really should know all of that. I remember being out there like in the summertime, and you had people like playing football and
Yeah.
doing like their dissertation. Like when the dissertations got really hard, you would see people outside like in the
Yeah.
sun trying to write it, and I'm like, that's not going to make a difference. But it's just like stuff like that. I remember it just being the place where I'd meet all my friends, and like they'll do did they still do like the Domino's thing out there? You know, when like,
So
yeah, that was amazing. Like £1 pizza.
oh yeah, no, they do that like basically at the start of every like year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That when I was broke, that was like the best thing ever. Like getting that little pizza was amazing. Like, yeah, as a student. So like, yeah, Eastside Park, I'd say.
So snobs or pop world?
Oh, snobs. I have
Nice.
like, I don't think I could ever step into pop world, because I've just I remember in uni just hearing the most wild stories about it, and I'm like, I'm never going in there ever. I don't even go out that much anymore, but I remember if I was, it'd usually be like snobs.
Yeah.
And then like just hearing these crazy tales about pop world and being like, no thank you. Yeah.
Blues or Villa?
Villa. I live like 10 minutes from the Villa ground, so yeah.
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 Broad Street or Digbeth?
Digbeth.
Nice. What is your favourite Brummie landmark?
I was thinking about this today on the drive-in, and I was like 5, and I'm like, I can't pick 5.
Maybe 2.
Okay, 2 would have to be Custard Factory, like just
Yeah.
that little area, like where you've got the tall buildings and you've got the little
Yeah.
fountain in the middle. That was so cool, because I spent years there as a kid just
Yeah.
skating around and being in the stores. I thought that was like a little version of Shoreditch. And then the second one would probably have to be the little area that's like near Town Hall and the
Yeah.
council building, and those nice little like restaurants and shops that they've built.
Yeah, but it's like brand new now, isn't it?
Yeah. It's so clean and it's so like aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
I love going there. We shot some stuff there with BCU like the other day, and
Yeah.
it was really cool. So I like that. So
And what is your like best Brummie word?
Bab.
Of course.
Bab. I say Bab to people who aren't from Birmingham and they don't know what I'm talking about.
No.
I said it like, and they look. I said that in France to a German person. I was like, "You're right, Bab." And they just looked at me like, they looked at me like I was crazy. And my Birmingham accent is even stronger when I'm abroad.
Yeah, of course.
So like they were like super polite, and they kind of had to just put their hand on my shoulder and it's like, "Can you repeat yourself on like what did you say?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not in like Small Heath or something." I have to explain what I meant, and they were really curious. So they're like, "Oh, what does that word mean?" And I was like, gave them the whole history, and they were like, "That's cool." So yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
So final question then: if you could go back to your very first day here at BCU, what is the one piece of advice you would give yourself?
That's a great question. I would say just be as open-minded as possible and try as much things as possible. So when people invite you to societies, try all of them. When people invite you on nights out, as long as it's not Pop World, go, because you'll be fine. Go and just do as much as you can, because it's like those 3 years of university are like some of the most special times of your life, especially on like the first day. If you come from a completely different city, you have free range to like reinvent yourself and be a completely new person and kind of start afresh. And I think that was what like the first day of uni was like for me. Like I knew no one, and I remember just thinking, I remember at the time being a little bit cautious and being like, well, I don't want to go to this like hockey society because I'm not into hockey, and like, or even running. I remember there was a running group here on the first day, and they're like, we do running, and I was like, I don't run unless I'm running for the bus or the train, so that is not useful. But if I would have started running on the first day, maybe we would have started Well-Run Brum a little bit earlier, or maybe I would have like been a little bit more active in my early 20s and stuff like that. So I think just being really open-minded and just being like, just try everything. If you're not feeling a module, choose something else. If you're not if you're not feeling like a set of friends or just whatever it may be, just feel free to be like, okay, I'm going to drop this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and there's nothing wrong with just being open-minded and trying as much things as possible. So yeah.
Jonathan, thanks so much for coming on to the BCU Alumni Podcast today. It's obviously been so inspiring to learn even more about you and your journey so far, and we can't wait to see you again very soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for listening. You can check out more episodes of the BCU Alumni Podcast on our YouTube channel now. Thank you, and we'll see you again very soon.